In this video, I want to show you how you can very quickly put a plan together for an integrated media plan for your marketing coming up. What's going on, everybody? My name is Karim Mustafa. I am co-founder and CEO of Tribe Tactics. And as mentioned in this video, I basically just want to give you the bare bones of what you need to really understand and plan your very own integrated media strategy for your business. You're probably working on, a specific campaign, or internally there's a specific initiative that's really important for people to promote, and an integrated media plan in many cases is actually the perfect way to promote something. And I'll tell you why. Basically, if you think about it, if you think about yourself as you go about your day, look at all the different like touch points that you have with, let's call it, the internet. Like, you're on your phone, you're on your computer, you're using different softwares, you're on different browsers, you're experiencing different types of content, or rather, you're consuming different types of content. Sometimes you're watching stuff, sometimes you're reading stuff. You're looking at photos. You know what I mean? You are, so on and so forth. And so, even within those, when you watch videos, sometimes you're watching long videos, sometimes you're watching quick, like bite-sized videos on LinkedIn versus, like, let's say, videos on YouTube, right? Um, when you are, for example, looking at an image, sometimes you're looking at like long like infographics, sometimes you're just looking for a quick image quote. So these are some of the things that may already start to give you an idea of what integrated media planning is and what the outcome essentially should be. You're almost creating an experience for people so that you're not placing all your bets on one thing, but rather you are very strategically making sure that you're having an omni-channel approach, which is another word for integrated media planning. So I'm just going to bring up my notes over here and we can jump right in. So all right, so the first thing you want to keep in mind is audience, right? So it goes without saying, you need to know who you're speaking to from an audience perspective, understanding the channels that they're on, and we'll talk about channels again in point number 4 a bit more detail, but the channels that they're on, their personas, and their interests. And we like to think of their passionate interests in terms of what are they passionately seeking in terms of, like, say, dreams, but also like what are they passionately avoiding, let's say fears. And once you have these emotions like dialed in, this is something that could very quickly make whatever content asset in the integrated media plan work that much more effectively. So once you have your audience down, this next thing is, of course, to come up with your overall campaign goal. And to speak about it in tangible terms, sometimes it's just one major asset. Or if it's not, maybe it's something that you should consider to really have one main star of the show where everything else is essentially in service of that. One of the most reliable and easiest things to do is to do a long form video. It could be part of an ongoing like video series, or it could just be like a long video. The reason why is because compared to other formats, video is the richest of them, and you can get audio, image, and written content, and more video actually, from video. But from the other channels, it may not necessarily be as straightforward as such. So coming up with that major goal, maybe you're looking to drive brand awareness towards something specific, or you're looking to, for example, maybe it's like something to do with like business development, or something to promote, a brand new product, whatever the case may be. Coming up with a major asset, again, a long form video works perfectly here to really, share the news, or to really contain the body of content really that you're looking for, is a great way to set yourself up for success, really. So going back to the next point then is repurposing. So we touched on this slightly at the start, but basically in terms of categories, it's always easier when you have categories, right? So think of like, okay, well, what are all the different like video snippets that I can get out of this longer asset? What are the potential audio snippets that I could get, as well as image content or written content? Examples of videos could be like these, quick like video snippets and highlight videos that you see with like subtitling. These are very, very effective, like all across social media, especially when sound is not on, and people, even if people are working remotely during COVID and all this, like it's still an old habit. Like even if I'm sitting at home and there's nobody else, like I'm just more inclined to like subtitled content. It's just easier to consume as such. Think of like, is there an audio use case for the content you're creating? Is there an image or a written use case? And by the way, even if there is a use case, you want to make sure that you're not forcing it, in the sense that you're not just trying to chop everything as much as possible, but really you want to do it sensibly in terms of figuring out, or another analogy, it's like, just because you can cut a pizza into like different rectangles or squares, doesn't mean it's necessarily like the best thing, or ovals, right? So based on that, think about your audience and think about what are the formats that matter to them the most. Now, ultimately, as I always say, humans are humans, in the sense that like there's no such thing as, oh yeah, my guys, they don't listen to image, they don't look at images, or they don't listen to audio. you know, People do all of these things. It's just about what is most specific and most relevant for your specific industry and for your specific use case at this specific point in time with your specific resources. But as far as we're concerned, from what even like what we see, like working with brands and stuff like that, video, audio, image, and written by far are just like standard, like things that standard categories. I think that's the best way to put it. All right, so connected to that then is point number 4, which is channels. So you have a strong, at this stage, you already have your audience, you already have a strong understanding of what the entire goal of this integrated media plan is, and you probably have a large asset to go with it as well, and you've probably started to repurpose it. Now, repurposing and channels kind of go hand in hand. You almost want to do them together, because based on your understanding of your audience, you can then start to pick the channels that would resonate with them the most. So and not only that, but also thinking of like all the different assets that you're going to create and how best they play with these channels. So when you're creating, let's say, a video for Instagram versus an image for LinkedIn, these are all different things that you want to keep in mind to make sure that you're not just copy pasting content across the board, as tempting as that could be. Ultimately, we're creating content so that it could be seen by people, and so that it could start conversations and get all the the correct reactions as such. And it pays to really pay attention to the culture behind every single social media channel, as Gary Vee would say. Really paying attention to the culture that's going on in any particular social media channel as such. Perfect. So we have two more. The last two then, so use cases. So again, think about like, is this something that's like done for a marketing use case? Is it an HR, like talent acquisition use case? Maybe it's for recruitment, for sales, for product. Think about how you're actually or rather why you're doing this, and what the end game is, because that's really going to help glue the repurposing piece with the channels piece, with the audience piece. It's really going to help to bring everything together when you know exactly what this is being used for. It could be that certain things work when you do it for marketing, but if you're doing it for recruitment, some of the rules start to change, or some of the nuances start to kick in, and you really want to make sure that you are paying attention to those. Again, nobody has the answers for this except you internally, or to say this another way, you'll never know until you try. So the best way, and that actually is a perfect segue into the final point, which is to really just measure and repeat the things that are clearly working, and of course to pivot away from the things that were not necessarily as effective. One thing that I do want to share here though is that, and it's something that could be very easily like overlooked, is the importance of measuring after some time. So in other words, don't measure too quickly, especially in an integrated media plan. Like, you want to make sure that you let the content breathe a little bit. And like anyone working in marketing or in content knows this. It's not like a direct response thing where you get like an instant gratification, instant results, and what have you. Content really does take time, almost like baking a cake. It takes time. You can't rush it, but in the same time, you can't go on forever. So maybe give yourself, it depends who you ask, right? But like, give yourself at least a period of 2 weeks, or maybe like a month, just to really have everything simmer and see, what the results were. And based off of that, you can start to pivot. And when you do make a pivot, make sure that you keep that on as well, for keep that in the oven for at least another 2 weeks, up to a month, based on then the normal cadence that that works best for your company as such. So hopefully this was helpful, building an integrated media plan. This is essentially just, as mentioned in the beginning, a guide to help you get the bare bones of the different questions you should ask yourselves and the different categories that you should keep in mind when you're going about building this integrated media plan. And hopefully, once you start thinking in terms of these categories, the rest will soon follow very, very easily. Of course, if you have any specific questions, as always, let us know in the comments. If you want us to go deeper on any of these specific points or any related points, let us know and we can create some videos about those as well. All right, hope you're having a great day and talk to you soon.